Okay, so what we'll do is we'll open up a brand new spreadsheet, and we'll use an example of us collecting stock quotes from the internet. So we'll call this, maybe we'll call this spreadsheet something like stock quotes. And we'll open up the spreadsheet. And what we're basically going to try to do now is we're going to try to get data from the internet. And there are some canned routines that bring in data. Plus, we could create our own if we decided that data that's out there is not what we want. But if we go to data, and then we go to existing connections, and then the one at the bottom is the stock quote one. So there's a couple of canned routines that'll come and fill in data into our, they'll go out to the internet, assuming you're on a computer that is connected to the internet, and then get whatever data is being requested. This data will come in from MSN, so it's a Microsoft News Network. So if we click on this, it'll ask us what cell do we want as the upper left corner of the data that's coming in. So we could take the A1 cell. We hit OK for that. And now we're going to type in some stock symbols. So it's going to actually get us the up to the minute, because the stock market's open right now, the up to the minute stock prices. So we'll use IBM, comma, GOOG for Google, comma, MSFT for Microsoft, and then maybe one more we'll use MS for Morgan Stanley. And then the other thing is we want to say, you don't have to do this, but we could say use these fields again if we go to do a refresh. So obviously as live data is changing, you might want to refresh to get the latest updates. We may want to change the symbols we want, but if you want, you can check this box. Okay. So we hit OK, and it basically generates a chart looking like this. So this is kind of a canned report that went out to the internet and brought in, starting at a box A1, which is where we said to start. You could have moved it somewhere else if you want. And then basically the companies we put down, type their symbols in, their stock market symbols. And then it went out and generated this report, and these are the current prices of the stock, GOG. And then there's other information about the stock. Does anyone have any questions? Okay. So, we've done standard stuff where we take numbers from Excel spreadsheets and then multiply them by other numbers. So let's say, for example, you want to keep a record of yourself, how much money you have in the stock market. And let's say these are the four companies you're stocking. So what we would do is we want to know how many shares of each stock you have times whatever the number is up per minute. Multiply that together and then total that all up, and that would be how much you currently have in the stock market. So what we could do is we'll let the first sheet be the one with live quotes on it. Maybe we can call that sheet live quotes or quotes. I'll call that the quote sheet. And then we'll go to a second sheet, and maybe we'll call this your portfolio, P-O-R-T, F-O-L-I. Okay? And we'll build a little chart for yourself. We'll say company name. Stock price. Number of shares. And total. Okay. Now the company name, we're going to get this from the report on the quotes page. So how do we do that? Can we say this cell equals name of the sheet, which I now named quotes. So put whatever name you put, and then it was exclamation point, and then we have to figure out what cell it's at. The company name is at cell A, 4A. Should be twice 4. Okay, quotes 4A. Okay. And then the price also comes from the quote sheet, and that's at 4D. Right, so that would be, the price would be equal to quotes, exclamation point, meaning the quote sheet, and then the cell 4D. And then the number of shares is gonna be, that's our own personal knowledge, we're not gonna get that from any sheet, so we could just make up numbers here, we have, let's say, 10 shares, something like that. And then the total would be, if you take the price of the stock times the number of shares you have, that's how much of that stock you have. And let's format the cell to be money or currency, format cell be currency, and the other, the total cell is also currency. That cell to be currency. And then we can copy this row down, because we have 4 different stocks, right? So do 4 times. Oh wow, it made our shares go 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay, well, those numbers we're just making up, so, and obviously we can change those as time goes on. And then we might need a,
Share, that's the last column.
I'm sorry?
This is the share last column.
Share what?
Oh, just make up the number?
Oh, no, that's, so this first sheet, okay, so you're asking what is the number of shares out? This column?
Yeah, for my portfolio page, like how do I break the 4 million?
Okay, well, this is how many shares are out in the whole world, so that, don't worry about that, that's just coming from, this is, the first sheet is just data from the stock market. The second sheet is your own, like, personal one. So we formulate that. Yeah, so it'd be quotes, oh no, yeah, just make up a number for shares, just make up a number for that. Let's put in 10 or something.
What if you got question marks for your price for the Google one?
Question mark?
Yeah, why would that be?
Okay, so.
Just for the one, like the other ones were outlined.
So if you, does it say equals, quotes, exclamation point, and then the box where the number is on the other sheet?
It should, yeah. Is it the next one down?
Okay, I'll take a look at it after.
Okay.
Okay. So, does anyone have any other questions?
It's just like the price, I hate this. This just equals this times that.
Okay, so let me just continue. So, okay. So now what we can do is we can create a total field. And that's not a big deal here, so we're just at this bottom, we're saying this is equal to the sum of these boxes. That's our grand total. Okay, and then we could put a box around this whole thing, so we could just try to make some cosmetic changes to it.
I'm so lost.
Something like this. little bold numbers. Okay. So anyway, we now have, on our first page, is a page from, basically quotes coming in from the stock market. And the data is, okay, so the data coming in is from, on the first page, the quotes page, is data from the stock market. Now, this data is a little old because we got it a couple minutes ago, and the numbers have changed a little bit since then. The second page is reading yields from the first page and then performing some new calculation for us. So now, another thing we could do is if we wanted to make a pie chart of where our money is, we could go to our second page and we could go to Insert, and then pick the pie chart. We could take a broken, oh wait, hold on one second. We'll to create a pie chart, we're going to pick two columns that are either two columns or two rows of data that are next to each other. Basically, one of the columns has to be numbers, and the other ones could be symbols to put a tag on this pieces of the pie. Excel will know that this is the number, so this will be used for the amount, and this will be used for the label. So if we shade that region, even though this isn't the pie chart we want, we'll correct it in a second. So we shade two columns or two rows, and then we say, we click on pie chart, and we'll pick the broken pie chart. And it calculates a pie chart for us. Now, this is not the numbers we want. We would like to have the pie chart broken out by the total amount of money we have, not the total of the current prices. So this pie chart right here is just a ratio of the prices to each other, which doesn't have a whole lot of meaning. But if we drag this, what I have is a blue rectangle, over to our money column, the pie chart, once I let go of this with the mouse, the pie chart should readjust. Now, it didn't readjust too much because the amount of shares we have is kind of lopsided. Let me change the Morgan Stanley to be 200 shares. That should change the sizes of the pie. Okay, so what we've basically done is we've taken stock quotes which we'll get from the stock market, loaded them into, and we're just breaking this up for cosmetic reasons. And we're putting the quotes on one sheet, and then on the second sheet, we're calculating how much money we have based on how many shares of each stock we have, totaling them all up into a report, and then creating a pie chart if we want. We could also create they're called Gantt charts, which are the charts where there's a tower by going like this. Once again, we have to shade columns, and then we would say insert, and you could do the bar pie. And we'll do a column pie. And this is a chart that will give us a breakdown, just a different picture of where our money is. Oh, sorry. We can correct the columns. I'm going to say insert column, and then at this point I'm going to move the data over to the correct number. So this is just a different representation of where our money is. Okay, and now, so does anyone have any questions? Okay, so we could generate charts based on data in any table. And then we can, the data from our quote sheet feeds into these boxes, and then these boxes feed into the chart. If we go and update the quote sheet, you guys have any questions? Okay. So the data from our quote sheet gets fed into our table, and then our table feeds into our charts. If we update the quote sheet, it will actually update not only the chart, because obviously those are formulas, but these charts will be regenerated, which I guess is, and that, kind of nice surprise. So we can go out to, the first page, and if we go to data, there's a button called refresh. If you click on the refresh data, the numbers will change. Now, when you typed in the symbols, IBM and whatever, if you didn't check that box that says automatically reuse these symbols, it might be asking you a question like, what symbols do you want to use? I guess you'd have to type them in again and then check the box. But otherwise, it will go out and regenerate the data. Then if you go back to the portfolio, obviously it hasn't changed much. So just to convince you that the pie charts do refresh, let's go into the Google box here without refreshing the data and just make its stock price go to 0, which is obviously not the current stock price of Google, but if that's the case, you should be able to come back to your charts and you'll see there's no more Google on either one of your charts, hopefully. So that just kind of convinces you that the charts are being built after the data that they're being built on is updated. So kind of there's a path that goes from the stock quotes coming in to the charts, to these fields, and then your charts are being built on these fields. And that's all done with just hitting the refresh button. Okay, so now you can see that the charts can get a little messy, and there's lots of charts we can build. I'll just go over a topic. I'm going to get rid of these charts for a second. And we now have our spreadsheet. I'll do a save on the spreadsheet so we don't lose anything. And suppose we decided for like a presentation purposes, we wanted to pop charts up and down as needed. So we can use a topic in Excel called macros, where we can record a set of steps that we're going to do, and then assign those steps to a control key. So what we'll do is we'll just create 2 simple macros, and the 2 macros will pop up, the 2 charts that we just created. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the View tab. So now, at this point, let's make sure we're all on the same page. So we have our data that's coming in from the internet, assuming we're on a computer connected to the internet. And then we have our portfolio page, which does some calculations based on the data that came in. Now what we want to do is redo those 2 charts we did, the pie chart and the Gantt chart, but we're going to record them in a macro, so that way we can just hit a button and they'll pop up if we need them to pop up. So we go to macros, and in macros, basically any steps you can perform with Excel can be recorded step by step what you're doing, and then you can save that recording of instructions, and anytime you hit this control key, those steps will be repeated. So we'll create a macro. No, that's a list of macros. We will record a macro. We'll call this one pie chart. And actually, you can't leave a space in these names. It doesn't let you leave a space. And we'll say Control P will be for the pie chart. We can assign a letter to pie chart. And if you want to put a description, generate a pie chart. Okay, at this point, we are now in recording mode. Any moves we make will be recorded until we say stop recording. So let's do this. Let's go to Insert, pie chart. Pick the broken pie chart. Oh, sorry. Let me cut that. I'm gonna say insert. I'll shade this region. Create the pie chart. Move the data over to here. Move the pie chart over to here.
Where did you put the data?
Sorry?
Where did you put the data from total?
Yeah, I went to the total. So we want to do the companies against the total, create the pie chart based on that. And then we're done. Now let's go to view, go back to macros, and then say stop record. So even though I made the mistake of generating a blank pie chart and then I deleted it, that'll be part of our steps, it doesn't matter. So, but we might want to edit those out anyway. So now, let's create a second macro. Well, let's now delete this chart. And let's create another macro, creating the Gantt chart. So same exact steps, we go to view, macros, we hit record, we'll put a G for Gantt chart, and we'll name it Gantt. It's spelled Gantt. Anyone know? No? What? Okay, well, I'll call, G-A-N-T, call it that. Okay. So now we're recording. So, we're recording our steps. So if we go to insert, let's do it again. We shade our data, our labels and numbers. We create pie chart, and then we alter the numbers to the numbers we want. Oh wait, I'm sorry. That's a pie chart again, we want to create a Gantt chart. So we'll say chart, insert the column chart, pick this column chart, and move the data over to the totals field, and then position it right under our data. And then go to view, macros, stop record. Okay, so if we view our macros, we have two macros, the Gantt and the pie chart. If you click on them, generated. Okay, if you want to see the context of what steps were recorded, you can list all the macros. They'll actually all show up together. But it's basically showing step by step everything we decided to do. Gets recorded into steps. And we can what we can now do, I cut this chart. So we're now back to our original spreadsheet where we have our stock quotes up front, our calculation on the second page, and we have now two recorded macros. So first thing we'll do is we will update our data again. Data refresh. That should change our Google number to a good one. Is your data getting refreshed? Yeah, mine's not. Oh, there it is. Okay, there was some kind of a delay. Okay, so Google's now 6:05. So now if we go to our second page and we hit Control P, thought I made it Control P. I must have had some error in my macro, but anyway, this ends up being the pie chart that we gave the instructions for how to create. And then if you want, you could delete it. And then hopefully Control G, get another runtime error. But then, are you guys getting the runtime error? Okay. Let's find out what that is. But anyway, the concept of macros are basically, you start a report. Did everyone get that error? Okay. Okay. But then it went to generate one of the steps we did, I'm not sure, I'll have to look at what that was. But anyway, so the idea of a macro is basically you turn a recorder on, and any moves you make get recorded step by step. And they're actually reported in that kind of programming language that we saw when we did one of them. And then whatever steps you record, and then you stop, and you give it a name, so then you go and edit it if you want. But you also can assign it to a control key, and when you get that control key, all those steps will happen. Okay, then if there were steps that you couldn't do just in Excel, but you did as a programming language, using BASIC, you do steps that you can't actually do with the Excel gridders, you can perform other steps. But if you're interested in doing much more interesting stuff with that macros, you can buy them both on Excel macros and learn how to do things that, steps that you can't program with Excel, but you can just type them in. So in Excel, we can actually go out, like when we originally created the quote page, we went to a tab that said something like, we picked out some canned reports and one of the reports was stock. But you can actually set Excel to go out to any internet site and pull data that you want. And actually those steps that we did was a macro. The step that went out to Microsoft stock quote server, gathered the data, put it back, and then printed it out, that was all recorded as a macro. So we could record other macros just like that, they go out and connect whatever data you want, sports scores, whatever you want to do, and create an Excel spreadsheet. But stock quotes is a pretty commonly asked one, so Excel is going to give you that one to start with. And it's a Microsoft product, so they go out to the Microsoft server to get the stock quotes.